I'm not one to care about how people make their money, what they do to pay their bills. As long as they're not hurting anybody else with the way that they're doing that, I really am one to live and let live. In the same vein, if someone is a Republican or a Democrat or whatever they are in their own country, or if someone doesn't believe in God or is atheist or agnostic, again, live and let live. There seems to be a lot of people that care so much about how other people live their lives. For me, as long as your actions don't harm anyone else, I'd like for it to not hurt you either, but then we're getting into not my business territory. All that being said, I've noticed an interesting pattern in reality and I felt like talking to you guys about it today. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leeor Alexandra and we're skipping the intro today and getting into the topic. People seem to be returning to God, and even, quite surprisingly in the 2024, to organized religion. And the two are not necessarily synonymous, as regulars to this channel might already know. I'll go over that again later on in this video. But we are seeing it with celebrities and influencers like Kat Von D, Black China, getting baptized and changing their outlook on their lives. I think there's UFC fighter Jake Matthews, who converted to Islam. I'm going to be talking about certain people because public figures, by virtue of their visibility, they show us an example of the wider collective experience of humanity. Their stories are magnified by a spotlight, which kind of sheds light on the undercurrents that are shaping our collective experience, our psyche, and societal dynamics as well. More importantly, I want to know if you've seen this pattern in your life, in your circle, wherever you live. Are people getting closer to religion again around you, to God? Are you? But for now, let's watch some videos I want to talk about. We're going to start with this one is Russell Brand.
The reason I wear a cross is because Christianity, and in particular the figure of Christ, are, it seems to me, inevitably becoming more important as I become more familiar with suffering, purpose, self, and not self. Reading the Bible a lot more. When I grew up, Christianity seemed like it was either really irrelevant and old-fashioned. We're going to talk about Jesus. But for me, it seems that it's taken quite a lot to recognize that I need a personal relationship with God. It occurred to me that if instead of always talking to myself inwardly, I could replace one of those voices with an indwelling God. It says in Galatians, it is our job to die so that as Christ died on the cross, he might be reborn in us. I'm very interested to hear what you think, because for me, my heart is open.
My heart is open, that's nice. So this was sometimes earlier this year, but actually in March 2023, and that date is going to be really important and you'll see why soon. Russell Brand, I think, spoke to Tucker Carlson in an appearance on Fox News, and he said something like, "Many desperate people, I need spirituality, I need God, or I cannot cope in this world." I would say, like many people, not necessarily desperate, we that find spirituality are the thinkers, the feelers, the lovers, the poets. We feel things on a different level, entirely different than a lot of people. And if that makes us desperate, then perhaps we're desperate for connection, for feeling in an unfeeling world, for something deeper. We're desperate maybe to feel the essence of our true home, of the divine. That was really interesting to me to see this man who lived a pretty much secular life, if maybe tinged with Eastern spirituality, kind of say, I can't keep going unless I go this way. I'm pretty sure that Russell Brand also went through the 12-step program, which does come from, religious overtones. So I wonder if this is very new or if it has something to do with his sobriety. It's very interesting. I found these videos on YouTube. I'm not really familiar with this creator, but I found out about her. Nala Daddy was a big OnlyFriends creator who was recently shared that she's quitting OnlyFriends, that she got baptized and she's turning her life around and getting back to her faith. Let's watch this.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, so really quick, I have a couple things to address and I just need you to listen to me. So I've had quite a few people reach out to me, comment, just truly curious about what and why I changed. So listen, I was a pastor's kid for almost all my life. I grew up in church. I was always in church. I was also homeschooled. So my life truly felt like a cage. And I'm not saying Christianity is a cage. I'm saying religion was the cage. I was a Baptist, I was a Baptist pastor's child for the longest time, right? Me and my family did not have a good relationship. And I'm the middle of 5 children. So I'm talking about my other brothers and sisters and my parents. It just truly felt like such a cage. I was a very rebellious child, like sneaking out when I was like 16 years old. I was just going the wrong way, right? So about 4 years ago, I started my OnlyFans because I think truly it was out of pure rebellion. And like, honestly, I'm such a independent person that I never felt the need for a man to provide for me, like have a man in my life to provide for me. So I started OnlyFans about 4 years ago, and I climbed to top 0.01%. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that the devil can truly give you things in this life. He has a budget though. He can only go so far.
So she actually got baptized and she deleted all her, I pressed something, so I think we saw enough. She got baptized and she deleted all her content. It's interesting. I guess she's sharing new things about her current life. Some people online I've seen say that this is kind of a new grift. I'd like to not think that way and maybe give her the benefit of the doubt that she's just sharing a new part of her journey. And that is with no judgment to whatever she was doing before. People do whatever they need to do, again, as long as they're not hurting others. It seems like she feels like she was hurting herself in this, and now she's changing. That's very interesting. What do you think? Do you think this is a grift or this is a genuine new part of her journey? Because I've seen it happen to a lot of people lately. Returning to religion does tend to happen around times of war. People seek higher meaning, comfort, and hope. So we saw this in both World War I and World War II. This is observable. Both civilians and soldiers showed much higher religious activity. In the United States specifically, attendance at church went way up. Meanwhile, being obsessed with finding pattern and meaning, I personally have noticed a connection between Saturn and Pisces and Saturn in Pisces and people returning specifically to organized religion or creating some sort of strict spiritual practice for themselves or getting very serious about their spiritual journeys. So Saturn began its transit through Pisces in March 2023. That's when Russell Brand started talking about how he needs God in his life, needs religion in his life. A lot of people started posting right around then. I saw a lot of articles about people right around then somehow returning to religion. So I noticed that a considerable amount of people in high profile positions or with a big following, they shared their return to religion and to their faith since around that time. Saturn is the archetype that represents structure, while Pisces represents our beliefs, our creativity, our spirituality, and Saturn's energy forces us to face reality, to take responsibility. That's why when you go through your Saturn return, you technically become an adult for the first time, your first Saturn return. Saturn brings us hard lessons. But when it's related to Pisces, the lessons tend to revolve around our spiritual beliefs, our understanding, and our connection to spirituality and to God and the divine. Saturn is named after the Roman god of time known as Cronus. And Cronus was a Titan, the son of Uranus and Gaia. Uranus represents the sky while Gaia is the earth. Cronus overthrew his father to become the king of the gods, only to be later overthrown by his own son Zeus, which is Jupiter in Roman mythology. This reflects to us themes of time, of cycles, of endings, transitions, and Cronus is associated with the passage of time, of limitations, of order and structure. That's Saturn, right? But also with the Golden Age. The Golden Age is a time of abundance and peace, but also of enlightenment, of higher consciousness, of expanded consciousness. Pisces, of course, it's linked to several myths, but one of the most prominent ones was Venus, Aphrodite, and her son Eros, or Cupid, transformed into a fish to escape the monster Typhon. And this myth kind of symbolized to me themes of escapism and also emotions and spirituality, because that's what Pisces kind of embodies, right? Pisces embodies the collective unconscious. Dreams, the dissolution of boundaries. It's also the end of the astrological new year, as we recently had the end of the astrological year and the beginning of a new one. Now, Saturn in Pisces can be seen as a time to to cultivate a new era of spiritual growth, where we bring disciplined practice, which is the Saturn energy, and we merge it with boundless connection to the divine, which is Pisces. This can potentially lead to a rise in consciousness. And I do think we talk about the age of Aquarius a lot, and Pluto in Aquarius is related to this, but I do think that this Saturn in Pisces has a major influence on what we're experiencing as people raise their collective consciousness. This is a period of time that's marked by people seeking structure in their spiritual lives. Some will use religion to escape the difficulties of reality. In my opinion, again, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, as long as it's beneficial to the person and to the world, more religion and more faith in the divine can perhaps be a good thing. But again, what do I know? I'm just into finding patterns and symbols and synchronicities, and some people might think it's psychosis, but at least I'm keeping my clothes on for now. And I really like mythos and astrology, and the way that I see reality is I look at things and I find these patterns and I kind of compare them to what's going on with the stars and the mythology. When I see people moving back into their faith, I also see it in a way, I know that a lot of us have trauma around organized religion, and for very good cause. But what I see is we're taking these archaic patriarchal religions and we're finding ourselves within them. We're not contorting ourselves to fill these old ideas, but rather eliciting a new consciousness, a new way of thinking and living within these communities and within these structures. God is for everyone because God is everyone. And religion might not be for everyone, but religion does give structure to people who might need it. Many of us need structure, right? The issue comes up when religion starts to divide us, when it becomes like an us versus them. I've always thought religion is so beautiful. I've studied Eastern religion since university, and then I went to the more patriarchal religions, the Judeo-Christian religions as they're called, which I believe are supposed to include Islam, and also, indigenous religions and paganism and the nature religions. There is so much overlap. And then don't get me started on the mysticism of all these religions. There's so much overlap. There is an inherent wisdom, a primordial wisdom that exists in all of these religions. And if we as humans and as souls could just see similarities between each other and how we practice such similar things, and our prayers say the same things, and we're all asking for healing and for health and abundance and love, and we all just want to feel good and do good and be good, then maybe religion can bring us closer rather than tear us apart. Anyway, Saturn will be in Pisces until February 2026. It's going to come out for a few months in 2025, and then it's going to retrograde back in until February. During this Saturn and Pisces time, we can also expect to experience karmic healing. Past issues might arise for resolution. So you're going to receive a lot of opportunities for deep emotional and spiritual healing. Very powerful time. It's also a great time to realize your dreams, to put structure and order to the things that you've been dreaming of doing. Let's see how this affects us. It's been affecting me like crazy. If you have Pisces in your top 3, we all have Pisces in our chart, so it's going to affect everybody. But if you have it in your top 3, I'm curious how you feel Saturn has affected it. I've definitely felt it shift in how I'm perceived online, which has been extremely interesting and really influential in shaping my journey over the last year. This phenomenon could also be because of Pluto entering Aquarius, which is radically transforming our society, but in a slower way over the next 20 years, because perhaps one of those transformations will end up being the return of the gods to the forefront of society, the return of godly living with the divine and higher consciousness and the afterlife in mind. I've noticed something else that's interesting about society. Who is going to become famous? Who is going to gain notoriety? And how society is going to shift. If you want to hear about that in the next video, let me know that you're interested in more of this content in the comments below. Let me know why you think all these people are giving up their old ways of living and moving towards their faith. I know I have felt a calling to become closer to my religion for sure this year. Have you? Let's talk in the comments. Thank you for watching. I love you. And as always, keep your vibrations way up.